This is the closing market report for Thursday on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. On the phone right now with Bill Moore of Price Futures Group as we wrap up another day in the ag marketplace. Bill, what have we seen going on in the grain and livestock markets as we head into an extended weekend?
Yeah, we've got a 3-day weekend, and I think people just kind of pulling in their horns trading-wise today, afraid to take any added risk over the long weekend. It's such a volatile time with the war, and you never know what Trump's going to say, pro or con the war. The markets, grains are a little bit lower. Corn's down a penny. At one time earlier today was up 5 or 6 early this morning. Beans are down 3. They were up about 8, and wheat's still up a penny. At one time it was up about a dime. It's been kind of a roller coaster this week. Crude oil is up $11. Not too far off its highs. Stock market is down about 160 points. The U.S. dollar is up about 38, so it's kind of a mixed bag that way. Trump announced had a rare primetime speech last night, first one since the war started, since he started the war. He gave ambivalent impressions on what's going to happen. On one hand, he said the war, he think it was going to be over in 2 or 3 weeks. And then a little bit later in his talk, which is only about 20 minutes, he said that he's going to ramp up his attacks on Iran for the next couple of weeks to try to pressure them into making a peace deal. And Iran all the while is taking a pretty strong stance against all that talk. So who's to say how much longer the war is going to go? But with what the crude did today, it looks like it could go longer than people think. But that was the news today, and initially, grains were up on the rally in the crude, but then they dropped some profit taking into the weekend because you never know. This headline risk, especially over a 3-day weekend, is pretty extreme. The USDA report came out on Tuesday. Was an interesting report in that the numbers were compiled early in March for the report, which showed basically corn acres a little over 95. I think it's 95.2. Find it in my notes. There we go. 95.3, and bean acres at 84.7. So a little higher than the corn they were looking for. Still about 3 million under last year, and beans about 3 million over last year. But this was before the war really had an impact on the markets and the higher price of gas and fertilizer and the scarcity of fertilizer. And those two things could mean less planting overall, especially that less planting corn, which uses a lot of anhydrous ammonia, which has gone up in price about 30% or more. So the final acreage numbers could be quite a bit different in June than they came out on Tuesday. So the market's taking those numbers with a grain of salt. So that's something to keep in mind. And other than that, the exports today, we had the weekly sales, and they were under the estimates in wheat at 295,000, and beans at 353,000. But at the top end of the range in corn, at 1.12 million metric tons. So they were solid. And that's really all the news in the grains. I think people were kind of disappointed when he talked earlier this week that in his speech, maybe he's going to be more definitive about how the war is going to end or his off-ramp strategy, but he really wasn't. There wasn't anything new. He said it was kind of a rehash, of what he's been saying. So we'll just have to see. Really, no one knows how that war is going to end, what he can decide, how Iran's going to react. But they're a tough route. They'll be a tough bout, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens here over the weekend. Livestock-wise, the market's been kind of on a roller coaster ride this week. Finishing very strong. April cattle closed up $2. And you look at the chart of April cattle, and they closed on new contract highs today. They've been on quite a rampage. They've run up $15 from the lows of March early on. Just off solid fundamentals. Tight supplies. The slaughters levels are down from last year, and the lows in 7 or 8 years is solid. We're in the best demand period of the year, the grilling season. And all that's up to higher prices, and the market's showing that this month with the highest close we've had all year. The highest close in about six months. You can take that cattle chart and turn it upside down, and you got the April hog chart. Amazingly, with new contract highs in the cattle and the good demand there, April hogs can't move, get off their own way. They've been in a sideways range, about $1 range for the last 2 weeks. They're hovering right off the lows of the month, about $10 off the highs made back in early February. It's just a case of lackluster demand and too much supply of pork and not enough exports.
All right, Bill, lots of great information today. For anyone who would like to get in touch for more marketing information and check out your newsletter, how can they do that?
630-947-5176, wmoore@pricegroup.com. Check out my newsletter, Agmaster, or www.pricegroup.com. The company website, look at the bios of Jack Scoville and myself. We've both been here a long time. We'd love to help you out.
That again was Bill Moore of Price Futures Group. We'll look at the numbers next.
In rural Iowa, you need reliable information. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network brings you ag-specific content like market trends, weather outlooks, and policy updates that matter to your operation, while your local station brings you community news and consistent updates on what is happening in your area. It's a partnership built for the challenges of rural life. Your farm, your local station, and your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. Find us online at iowaagnet.com.
At the close, May corn down 2 even at $4.52 1/4. December new crop went unchanged at $4.81 1/4. May soybeans down 5 even at $11.63 1/2. November new crop down 1.5 at $11.54 even. May soybean meal down 3 even at $3.15.20. May soybean oil up $1.83 at $68.94. Chicago wheat up 3/4 cent at $5.98 1/4. Kansas City hard red winter wheat up 2 even at $6.15 3/4. Minneapolis spring wheat up 4 3/4 at $6.46 3/4. May oats down 1.5 at $3.45 1/2. On the Merc, April live cattle up 2.15 at $2.46.20. April feeders up 2.15 as well at $3.72.90. April lean hogs down 57 cents at $90.35. Pork cutout went unchanged at $98.90. And April Class 3 milk up 17 cents at $17.66. That's been a check of the closing market prices. Thanks again to Bill Moore of Price Futures Group for joining us today here on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. I'm Riley Smith.